You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. Let's preview the game from the Florida State side. Our buddy Jeff Cameron, good enough to join us, host of the Jeff Cameron Show on 93.3 in Tallahassee, also from warchant.com. Hey, Jeff, great to chat, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, Matt. How are you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing awesome. I'm ready for some football, man. I know you are as well. We've talked about this game for so long. Glad that it's about here. What is sort of the general mood or vibe around Florida State heading into Sunday?
I think it's cautious optimism. I feel like most Florida State fans realize that this is a better version of Florida State football than we've seen the last 2 to 3 years. How much better is in question. And I think a lot of people realize given LSU's talent, that this will be a good barometer to see exactly where they are. I think they know, like I said, that Florida State's in store for a better season, but nobody really knows, does that mean 6-6, 7-5, maybe for this team right now, 8-4, is that possible? If that is possible, you have to beat LSU in a close game in New Orleans.
Jeff, what did you learn about Florida State in the game against Duquesne?
Not a lot. I don't think physically you could take too much away from a game like that. They were bigger, stronger, faster across the board, as you would expect them to be. So drawing too many conclusions is a bit dangerous. I will say, Matt, I think that they probably leaned into the identity of this team and what Mike Norvell wants them to be, which is to run the football and be extremely physical. They didn't show much in that game, but they certainly ran the ball a ton, and I don't think they're going to vary that too much on the season, at least in terms of that being who they are. Now, they have to get better at throwing the ball when you have to throw the ball, and that's something they'll be tested on, obviously, against LSU and the better teams that they face on the schedule, but they weren't forced into it against Duquesne, and so I think they decided to just play it straight ahead, because I will tell you, Matt, that Florida State the last 3 years, even in games in which they had a decided advantage, especially up front, which hasn't been too many of them, they still have failed to really establish that running game in a way that showed dominance. They could trick their way into some yardage, and they had some talent there in the backfield where maybe a broken player or two, certainly Jordan Travis's legs sufficed to upgrade those numbers on the ground, but they really haven't bullied anybody. So I think they just tried to lean into their identity last week.
Of course, when Alex Atkins, who's the offensive line coach, is the offensive coordinator, it stands to reason that he may want to go try to play some bully ball. You kind of alluded to this. Like, do you expect that to be the game plan again this weekend offensively for Florida State, to try to line up and run it at LSU?
I think it'd be a mistake to do that, but I will say this. They ran, in the second half in particular, quite a bit of outside zone against Duquesne. I don't think you'll see them do that against LSU, because I don't think they can do that against LSU's defensive line. But I do think that they won't steer too far away from setting things up off of the run. Now, I think they will be bullheaded enough to say, okay, 2nd and 8, you can live with that. You can't put Jordan in a position to have to throw the ball behind the chains consistently, but you also can't try to be something you're not. So, no, I don't suppose they'll just simply line up and try to run the ball, certainly not to the outside. But I do think that, again, you got to utilize Jordan's legs. So running the football in some capacity with a deep backfield is something they're going to have to find a way to do, at least to a reasonable level of success.
Jeff, how good is the Florida State offensive line?
I think it's average in the ACC. So that would tell you not good in the SEC. That would tell you that they're a below average offensive line amongst Power 5 teams. But it might also tell you that they're worlds better than they were a year ago, 2 years ago, certainly. The offensive line has been the Achilles heel for Florida State for some time. There are myriad reasons for that. But I will tell you they're deeper and they're bigger, and they have some options to move around. They used a ton of combinations last week. I don't think they've completely settled on the 5 that they love. But a year ago, if I had told you that a guard got hurt or a tackle got hurt and they had to play a replacement player, I would have told you that they were going to lose that matchup. I'm not so sure anymore that they can't find 2 or 3 guys that they feel very good about supplanting at those positions if need be.
I do want to flip and talk some defense as well, but if Jordan Travis has to make plays through the air, is he with those receivers capable of doing that against LSU?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not going to tell you that they're going to line up and put the game on his arm, but I would tell you that is another area of optimism for Florida State fans, because last year's receiving core I thought was the worst in the ACC. This year they'll come into a season with a dependable guy in Micah Pittman. I think they feel very good about what Johnny Wilson provides them with the 6'7" frame and his catch radius. They're better at that position than they were. They're going to have to hope that Deuce Spann, probably the most athletically gifted of the bunch, can really take a leap forward. He's a guy that played quarterback, went off to Illinois from the state of Florida, went there, only played 1 year, had 5 receptions as they transitioned him to a receiver. But if you look at his skill set, he's very talented. He's come a long way since arriving in the spring. He could kind of be the X factor for the receiving core. But they're much better. He has some options he didn't have a year ago. If he has to throw the ball in key situations, he finally has some targets. And he's got to get better himself, and I think this is a great test for Jordan.
Jeff Cameron's with us, WarChant.com, host of the Jeff Cameron Show on 93.3 in Tallahassee. He'll be in the Dome on Sunday for LSU and Florida State. Let's flip it over and talk defense. And, Jeff, every time you and I have had the chance to talk, we've spoken so much about both of these offensive lines kind of being an Achilles heel and both defensive lines being a real strength. So we know Florida State lost their great bookends, those great defensive ends from a year ago. How have they been able to maintain that level of play, losing talent there on the outside?
Well, I think they're really good in the interior, Matt, and you know I've talked about that some. I think that not only are their two starters very good, Fabian Lovett and Robert Cooper, but I think they've got depth behind them. I know they like Tatum Bethune at linebacker up the middle, the transfer from UCF, really productive player, sideline to sideline. So to answer your question about the defense, I think they're going to make some folks one-dimensional. It certainly helps when you know what's coming if you can do that. But we don't know, and it's a big question mark on the season, just how good McClendon and Jared Burris and Briggs can be. I like Briggs a lot. He's a bigger guy and a versatile guy that you can move from outside to inside. He has that kind of versatility, but it is a question mark, Matt. I don't know if we know that they can sustain throughout the season anything close to the kind of production they got from Tremaine Johnson and Garrett Thomas last year. I'd be very shocked if they even came close to approaching those numbers. But if those two, if the edge positions can at least be, let's say, average, and they're real good up the middle, then I think certainly Florida State's defense will be the strength of the team.
I want to talk about the secondary a little bit, because if you ask anyone affiliated with LSU, this doesn't matter if you ask coaches or players or analysts or fans, they're going to tell you this receiver group is the strength of the team. They've got depth and size and speed and athleticism, and it's just really good. LSU's churned out a bunch of good receivers over the past 20 years, and this unit should be no different. How's Florida State defensively on the outside? Will they be able to match up with Butte and Neighbors and Besh and all those guys?
Well, I think therein lies the big problem for Florida State defensively in this game. I think LSU, as you just noted, will do that to a lot of people, and that's why they're counting on the defensive line to get to Jaden Daniels if it's he who starts, and we both think, I believe that he's going to. Yeah. Look, Duke Cooper didn't play last week. Amarian Cooper, he didn't play last week. If he doesn't play this week, I think Florida State's got problems. But as far as I understand it, he is set to go. Renardo Green has kind of been a surprise for Florida State. I don't think a lot of people thought when we started spring football on into the fall camps that he would be the guy to win the job. But he's played consistently well. Now, this is a different kind of test. Where Florida State has to hope that they're consistent is at the two safeties. I know you asked about the outside, but I do think that Akeem Dent and Jamie Robinson, two talented players, both guys will play in the league. They've got to be able to help out these corners because there's not a lot of depth there. Not quality depth, proven depth. I like Kevin Knowles a lot. He's a guy that I think will play consistent football, but behind him, it's anybody's guess. There are names I could tell you, but not guys that are proven.
You know, Jeff, I think this is. I think we're just destined for a close ball game. There's probably some fans on both sides that don't think so, but I do. I think this is gonna be a one-score game. And in games like that, special teams often matter a lot. and LSU's replacing all of their specialists, like literally everybody. What's Florida State like in the third phase?
Well, they've been terrible. Frankly.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt, they've been terrible each of the last couple of years. In particular, in returning punts, actually catching punts has been a real obstacle for this team. It's been maddening to watch the amount of yardage they give up simply by not catching the football. Now, I think they feel like they've remedied that with Micah Pittman. We'll see. They didn't have a great day on Saturday, I didn't think, against Duquesne. And then the return game, the decision-making's been poor, at least in terms of when to take it out, when to fair catch and take it at the 25. It's been strange. There's been timidity there. I'm not real certain why they haven't been at least marginally better than they've been on special teams, because they rep it constantly. So that is a source of much consternation amongst Florida State fans. If they're not better in this game, in a close game, as you correctly note that it could very well be, then I think they're in trouble. And as far as punting, field goals go, I think they're above average punting. Mastrobuono's a nice punter, and then I think Fitzgerald is also average. So I would look to him and say, I think anything 40 in, you feel pretty good about. Anything 45 or more out, you don't feel that great about. And, it's a wait and see sort of thing.
Jeff, before you go, what is Mike Norvell's blueprint to win this ballgame?
Well, I think he's got to find a way to win first down and get LSU going sideways. I think sideline to sideline. I don't think you're going to have much success against that interior. I would utilize Jordan Travis early in the game with his legs. I'd also have him throw on first down on neutral downs. I think he can win some one-on-ones with Johnny Wilson and set up second and short. If success rate is good on first down, they can run tempo, Matt. And with him, if you can get a defender in a 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5 kind of conflict where they've got to play honest, Jordan Travis can really hurt you in situations like that. Obviously, his success rate diminishes greatly, or at least it has so far in his career, on any sort of 2nd or 3rd and obvious. And when he's got to throw it into tight windows, I think everybody kind of holds their breath a little bit. I think he's improved in that area, but not enough to carry a team in the passing game without the rushing attack being, what it has to be. In particular, him running the football.
Nole fans coming to New Orleans?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a game that a lot of folks have circled. They're excited about. I'll make mention of this. This is not kissing up to LSU fans, but I think most Florida State fans have had a great experience with LSU fans in the past, whether it be the great baseball rivalry. We went up and covered that in Baton Rouge in the postseason a few years back.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think anybody that's ever been around LSU fans understand the passion. These are two very passionate fan bases. Both sides want to win, but I think this seems like a big party to a lot of Florida State fans some time ago. So they bought up their tickets. They'll be there.
We're just, we're counting hours now, which is fun that we're actually going to get some football soon. Jeff Cameron, make sure you follow him on Twitter at JCameronShow. Hosts on the Jeff Cameron Show on 93.3 there in Tallahassee and warchant.com. Jeff, we appreciate it, man. Enjoy the game Sunday night.
Thanks, brother. Really appreciate it. Good talking to you, man. Be well.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.